Merhabalar, değerli velilerimiz, sevgili öğrencilerimiz, hoş geldiniz. Vaktinizi ayırdınız ve sunumuza katıldığınız için çok teşekkür ederiz. Bugün sizleri çok değerli bir üniversiteyle, University of Nottingham'la bir araya getiriyoruz. Biz de çok mutluyuz. Sevda Öncelbat ben bu arada, çok pardon. BEB British Education Bureau'nun kurucusuyum, aynı zamanda eğitim direktörüyüm. Ben sözü yetkilimize bırakmadan önce hem BEB kimdir hem de biraz bilgi tazelemek adına belki de Birleşik Krallık'la ilgili bilgiler aktarmak istiyorum. Daha sonra yetkilimiz Isabella'ya sizi takdim ediyor olacağım. Evet, BEB kimdir? University of Nottingham'ın Türkiye'deki resmi temsilcisiyiz biz. 2002 yılında Oxford'da kurulduk. İngiliz ve Türk kuruculara sahibiz. 18 yıldır da Ankara, İzmir ve İstanbul'daki ofislerimizde Türk öğrencilerimize İngiltere'de eğitim alma konusunda uzman hizmet sunuyoruz. Uzmanlık alanımız bizim İngiliz eğitim sistemi. Üniversitelerin giriş şartları, başvuru süreci, ihtiyacınız olabilecek tüm bilgiler aslında. Tüm danışman kadromuz İngiliz eğitim sistemine vakıf, bu konuda eğitimler almış, uzman bir kadrodan oluşuyor. Birleşik Krallık'ta 130 tane devlet üniversitesi vardır. BEB 90'ının Türkiye'de resmi temsilciliğini yapan bir kurum. Temsilciliğini yaptığımız üniversitelerimiz için de ücretsiz hizmet sunuyoruz öğrencilerimize. Üniversite seçimini neye göre yapmalıyız? Bu önemli bir soru. O yüzden bu slide üzerinde biraz durmak istiyorum. Öncelikle ülke seçimi yapmalıyız. Hangi ülkede eğitim almak istiyoruz? Bu önemli bir karar. Kararımızı verdikten sonra ülke noktasında bölüm seçimine gelebiliriz. Bölüm seçimi okul seçiminden önce gelmeli. Çünkü özellikle Birleşik Krallık'ta istediğimiz bölüm her üniversitede olmayabilir. Onun için öncelikle bölüm seçimi, akabininde de istediğimiz bölüme doğru orantılı okul seçimini gerçekleştirebiliriz. Okul seçimi bazı parametreler önemli bu noktada. Başarı sıralaması elbette ki en önemli parametrelerden bir tanesi. Başarı sıralaması, dünya başarı sıralaması olarak bir de İngiltere'de kendi içerisinde yaptıkları bir başarı sıralaması var. Hatta 3 farklı kaynak var. Bu 3 farklı kaynağa bakarak da tespit edilebiliyor. Başarı sıralaması sonrası şehrine bakabiliriz. İngiltere'deki şehirler bizim Türkiye'deki şehirlerimiz gibi büyük ölçekli değil. Dolayısıyla 3 tane büyük şehri vardır. Sırasıyla söylemek isterim. Londra, Birmingham ve Manchester'dır. Diğer şehirleri çok daha küçük ölçeklidir. Hatta bazıları bizim Türkiye'mizdeki kasabalara eşlenebilecek ölçüdedir. Dolayısıyla belki de şehri seçmekte bazı öğrencilerimiz için çok önemli olabilir. Birleşik Krallık'taki üniversiteler kampüs üniversitesi ve şehir üniversitesi olarak ikiye ayrılıyor. Şehir üniversitesi şehrin içerisinde, kampüsünde derslik ve belki de kütüphanesi olan üniversiteler. Kampüs üniversitesi ise tamamen bizim Türkiye'de alışık olduğumuz kampüsün içerisinde dersliklerimizin, kütüphanenin, konaklamalarımızın, spor tesislerinin, kafelerin, barların, restoranların, öğrenci ihtiyacı olan her noktanın içinde barındıran bir sistem. Buna da kampüs üniversiteleri deniyor. Sonrasında sosyal imkanlar önemli seçeceğimiz okuldaki. Sosyal imkanların sonrasında da arzu ederseniz ve sizin için belki de önemlidir, milliyet dağılımına bakabiliriz. Seçimlerimizi bu doğrultuda yaparsak doğru seçim yapmış oluruz. Birleşik Krallık 4 ülkeden bir araya geliyor, meydana geliyor. Dolayısıyla mouse'umun okuyla İskoçya'dan başlayacağım. En üstte Aberdeen'den Newcastle'a kadar olan kuzey bölüm adanın İskoçya. Newcastle'dan tamamen doğusunu alan kısım, Portsmouth hatta Plymouth'a kadar olan kısım İngiltere. Ülkenin batısı Bangor ile Swansea arasını görebiliriz. Burası tamamen Galler. Bir de Kuzey İrlanda var, Belfast'ın olduğu bölge. 130 tane devlet üniversitesi var demiştik. Türkiye'de yok denkliği önemli bir nokta. Türkiye'den bu üniversitelere verilen denklikler, akreditasyonlar, birçok üniversitenin denkliği mevcuttur. İngiltere'de özellikle interaktif bir eğitim sistemine sahiptir. Sistem bunu gerektirir. Öğrenciyi de içine alan ve öğrencinin de kendine göre bir takım düşünceleri ve kendine ait, kendine belki de konuyla ilgili geliştirebilecek her noktada söz sahibi olmasına izin veren bir eğitim sistemidir. Lisans eğitimi İngiltere, Galler ve Kuzey İrlanda'da 3 yıldır, İskoçya'da 4 yıldır. Bazı bölümlerde eğitim süreci biraz daha uzundur. Bir sonraki slaytta hangi bölümlerin olduğunu anlatıyor olacağız size. Lisans öncesi eğer istediğimiz üniversitede eğitim alabilecek not ortalamasına sahip değilsek, o zaman Foundation yılı denilen bir yıl okuma şansımız var. Birçok üniversitede Foundation yıl vardır. Bu 1 yıllık bir eğitim sistemi, eğitimdir. 1 yıl süren bir eğitimdir. Bu 1 yıl Türkiye'deki gibi İngilizce hazırlık eğitimi değildir. Tamamen okuyacağımız, eğitim alacağımız dalın akademik altyapısıyla derslerini almaya başladığımız bir yıldır aslında. Yüksek lisans, master 1 yıl İngiltere'de. Aynı şekilde lisans gibi yüksek lisansta da eğer not ortalamamız eğitim almayı arzuladığımız üniversite yeterli değilse 1 yıl pre-master eğitimi alarak gene istediğimiz üniversitede eğitimimize devam edebiliriz. Doktora eğitimi 3 yıldır PhD. Mezuniyet sonrası 2 yıl oturum izniyle iş bulma imkanı sağlar Birleşik Krallık. Geçtiğimiz sene ilk öğrencilerimiz bu kuraldan yararlanma şansına sahip oldular. 2 yıl istisnasız bir şekilde iş bulmak adına ülkede kalmaya devam edebiliyorsunuz. Oturum izniniz oluyor. Bir de çok önemli bir nokta, dünya başarı sıralamasında ilk yüzde bulunan üniversitelerde eğitim alma şansımız oluyor Birleşik Krallık'ta. Eğitim başarı çıtası çok yüksek olduğu için ve birçok üniversitesi çok başarılı olduğu için dünya sıralamasında da ilk yüzde yer alabiliyor. Dolayısıyla eğer Birleşik Krallık'ta eğitim almak istersek dünya başarı sıralamasında ilk yüzde olan eğitim kurumlarında eğitim alma şansına sahip oluyoruz. Pardon, slaydım atlamadı. Peki, şöyle yapalım. Çok özür diliyorum. Evet, az önce lisans eğitiminin 3 yıl olduğundan bahsetmiştik. Tıp, mimarlık ve hukuk bölümleri bu 3 yıl sürecinden biraz daha farklı bir eğitim süreci ve yılını kapsıyor. Özellikle tıp fakültesinde okumak isteyen öğrencilerimiz 10 yıllık bir eğitim sürecini göğüslemek durumunda. 10 yıldan önce, çok özür dilerim background'dan gelen sesler için, hepimiz malum evden çalışıyoruz. Özellikle çocukluysak çok özür diliyorum o yüzden. Tıp fakültesi 10 yıllık bir eğitim sürecini kapsıyor. Bu istisnasız böyle. Eğer Türkiye'ye geri dönseniz dahi 10 yıl süreci bitirmeden bir denklik alma durumunun söz konusu olmadığı için 10 yıllık bir süreci göğüslemeniz gerekiyor. Mimarlıkta ve hukukta ise bu süreç 7 yıllık bir eğitim süreci. Eğer Türkiye'ye dönüp 3 yıl sonrasında aldığınız lisans eğitimi sonrasında 3 yıl okuduktan sonra Türkiye'ye dönmek isterseniz bu mümkün. Türkiye'de hukuk için Türk hukuk farkı derslerimiz var. O dersleri fark dersi olarak alıp YÖK'ten denklik alabiliyoruz. Dolayısıyla sonrasında da baroya kayıtlı avukat olarak devam edebiliyoruz kariyerimize. Mimarlık için de aynı şey geçerli. Mimarlıkta fark dersleri yok. 3 yıllık eğitim Türkiye'de kabul gören ve YÖK'ün denklik verdiği bir bölüm. Ancak İngiltere'de ya da Avrupa'nın başka bir ülkesinde mimar ve avukat olarak kariyerimize devam etmek istiyorsak o zaman 7 yıllık bir eğitim sürecini almamız gerekiyor. Eğitim alanları yelpaze çok geniş Birleşik Krallık'ta. A'dan Z'ye arzu ettiğiniz bütün bölümlerin bulabileceğiniz bir yelpazeye sahip. Seçenekler oldukça fazla. Ben çok teşekkür etmek isterim. Sözü şimdi yetkilimize aktaracağım. Bizi takip edebilirsiniz, web sayfamızı ziyaret edebilirsiniz bizi tanımayan öğrencilerimiz için. Sorularınız olursa her zaman da ulaşabilirsiniz. Memnuniyetle özellikle Birleşik Krallık'ta yardımcı olmak isteriz sizlere. Alright, thank you. Şimdi ben sözü Isabella Simms'e devrediyorum. Isabella, yours now. Thank you.
Thank you, Sevda. I'll share my screen. So hopefully you can all see that.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay, great. So thank you everyone for coming and listening this evening. My name is Isabella. I work at the University of Nottingham, and my role is to support students that are applying to study with us from Turkey. So I'm going to talk you through a little bit today about the university, the city of Nottingham, and what it's like to come and study with us. So first of all, why choose the UK specifically? You might have a lot of different options when you think about where you might want to study your university education. So some of the reasons why we talk about choosing the UK, first of all, is the education system itself is really, really well recognised and highly regarded around the world. So the UK education system is one of the oldest in the world. A lot of other countries base their education systems on ours. And if you look at some of our universities, we have some of the oldest universities in the world. So it's a really well regarded education. One of the benefits of studying in the UK is the number of different program options and routes into university that are available to you. So we have foundation programs, bachelor's, master's, PhD programs, as well as things like postgraduate diplomas and certificates and additional training, so things like MBAs. And within those, there's a huge number of different programs you can choose from, so subjects, length of your course, and kind of extracurricular things you can do around that. And one of the benefits with some of these programs is that a lot of them are what we would call professional programs. So you can study things like engineering, medicine, veterinary medicine, psychology, directly from high school, for example, and start your training straight away so that when you graduate, you're graduating ready to work in that field and you don't have to do anything additional. And a lot of those programs have professional accreditation, so you're working towards a recognised qualification within engineering, for example, or to be a qualified lawyer, and you're doing that directly with your degree straight away. One of the kind of key things about the UK at the moment is that we have good options for staying and working once you finish your degree. So we now have a post-study work visa, so a graduate visa, which means that when you finish your course, you'll actually be able to stay and work in the UK for 2 years. And you can use that time to either start working straight away, or you can be looking for a job, and there's no requirements on salary either. So it gives you a really good opportunity to stay and work straight away. And then outside of that, one of the kind of key things with studying in the UK is the learning style and how you're taught. So there's a big emphasis on kind of being involved in your lectures, speaking with your professors. It's very interactive, but there's also a big emphasis on self-study. So you'll learn how to work quite independently and guide your own research, and you have a lot of independence on choosing your topics, kind of choosing what you do with your research, and it combines those two aspects to create students that are both independent but also very collaborative. And the UK has a really, really diverse culture. So you'll find throughout the UK lots of different nationalities, religions, and it makes it a really vibrant place to come and study. We have about 500,000 international students in the UK, and it makes it a very, very multicultural and interesting place to live. So why choose Nottingham specifically? One of the things I get asked quite a lot when I speak to students is, where is Nottingham? They'll have heard of Nottingham, they might know someone studying there, but they're not always 100% sure whereabouts Nottingham is. So Nottingham is a city right in the middle of England. So it's in an area called the East Midlands, and you can see on the map we're right in the middle, and it's about 1 hour and 40 minutes to London. So you can take the train directly to London, you can be in Manchester in 2 hours, Birmingham in 1 hour. So it's very, very central, and Nottingham is very much a student city. So we have about 60 to 70,000 students that are based here in Nottingham. And it's quite a compact sized city, so you can actually walk everywhere in the city centre. There's lots and lots of different things to do, and I'll talk a little bit about that as we go through. But it's also really close to lots of beautiful countryside, so you can explore the rest of the kind of surrounding areas really well. But it's one of the things that people tend to like most about kind of studying in Nottingham is how close the city centre is to the campus. So the city is about a 10 to 15 minute bus ride from our campuses, and I'll show you the campuses as we go through the presentation. So why choose to study at Nottingham specifically? When we talk about Nottingham as a university, there's some things that we kind of like to promote to students. So we're a member of the Russell Group, and the Russell Group is a group of research-focused universities in the UK. And lots of you might think, okay, well, I'm not necessarily at the point of being a researcher yet. I'm still thinking about bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, and then I'll start to think about maybe being a researcher. So you might think, well, what does that mean for me? Well, the benefit of studying a research university is that you're taught by professors and academics who are leading in their field. They're often experts in what they do. They're still very much active in the latest developments in that area. And a really good example of that is with the COVID pandemic. And a lot of our professors are involved in vaccine research. They're involved in creating PPE, so the protective equipment. We have medical students that graduate early and work in hospitals, and that's all possible because of the research that goes on. And a lot of our professors are quoted quite regularly in the news. So we have virologists, for example, who are often commenting on kind of the developments with COVID and research and things like that. So you're at the forefront of things that are going on and the developments in your area. We're a top 20 university in the UK, top 100 in the world, and as well as kind of the research, we have really, really high standards of teaching. So not only are your professors good at kind of the work they do, but they're also good at teaching you how to do that work. So it's a good combination. And for students that are thinking of taking up sports or already performing as athletes, something that we're really pleased with this year is that we are University of the Year for sports, and this is the second time we've won it in 3 years, so it's a really fantastic place to come and be an athlete. Nottingham itself is a really vibrant university. It's quite big. We have campuses in the UK, as well as in China and in Malaysia. Our UK campuses have about 35,000 students who study with us, and around 10,000 are international. So it's a really, really big student body, but very multicultural. And we have almost 300,000 graduates across the world. So our students will leave Nottingham and often go kind of all around the world. And one of the nice things is that a lot of those alumni will keep in touch with us and act as mentors for our students. And when you graduate, you become part of this global kind of Nottingham family, and we have a lot of events for alumni that get put on around the world, so you can still keep in touch with what people are doing. But yeah, for international students, it's a really fantastic place to come and study. You're surrounded by people from all over the world. We have around 150 different nationalities on campus, and like I say, we have our 2 overseas campuses as well, where lots of students will choose to spend a little bit of time. The city itself, I mentioned kind of where its location is, but Nottingham has a whole range of different things to do. The way I like to sort of think of it is it has something for everyone. So it has a really big student population, which does make it very student friendly. It's a very affordable place to live. So you'll find in the UK, kind of the further north you go outside of London, the cheaper it tends to be. And Nottingham is a very affordable place to be a student. So there's two universities based actually in Nottingham. There's our universities, the University of Nottingham, and then Nottingham Trent University. So between the two of us, we have almost 70,000 students. But despite that, it is a very, very kind of safe place to live. So we have A lot of people will talk to me about how safe is it to come and study in Nottingham? What will it be like for me as an international student? In the UK, we have something called a Purple Flag Award. And this is an award that recognises how safe cities are to live in, but particularly on nights out. And Nottingham has won this award every year since 2010. So it's a really, really safe and friendly place to come and live as a student. There is so many different things that you can do depending on what you're interested in, whether it's sports, shopping, culture, history, music. We have a really, really good art scene. So we're a UNESCO City of Literature. So we have lots of poetry festivals, open mic nights, different literary festivals going on, independent theatres, art galleries and cinemas. We have the most independent shops outside of London. So if you like shopping, it's both a blessing and a curse because there's always somewhere new to try. And a really, really good food and drink scene. So lots of independent cafes and coffee shops, incredible restaurants. Nottingham is also a very eco-friendly city. So the university is actually 3rd in the world for sustainability, and that's a really big emphasis at the university, but also in Nottingham generally. And you'll see that in things like public transport that we have here. But a really good way to kind of describe it is something that a newspaper actually wrote about the city of Nottingham quite recently, is that it is a fun, funky and affordable place to live. And I think that really kind of sums Nottingham up. It's got a really good atmosphere, lots of different things going on, but it's also a quite a cheap place to live. So it's a good combination of everything. It doesn't only have kind of the city centre. There's lots of surrounding areas that are really, really nice within Nottingham. The city itself is actually built on a system of kind of caves. So you can go underneath the city centre and explore. And lots of those will end up in kind of restaurants and bars. But quite close to campus, we have kind of beautiful parklands and green space. So the one that you can see here on screen is Woollerton Hall. And this is actually where Batman was filmed, for anyone who's interested in Batman films. And it's a really pretty place to go for a walk or for a picnic. And you can explore the kind of grounds there. So it's a really nice combination of city life, but also kind of peaceful greenery. So just briefly how the university kind of got set up. We're quite historic. We go back as far as the 1800s, and we actually started in the city centre as a college. And we had people like D.H. Lawrence, the writer and poet. He came and studied with us when we were a college. And we moved to the campus that we're based on now in 1928. And that was donated by someone called Sir Jesse Boot, who actually founded the pharmacy store in the UK called Boots. So we have quite strong links with pharmacy. So we're 6th in the world for pharmacy. Ibuprofen, the painkiller, was created in Nottingham. So it kind of shows the strong research that goes on. And in the 30s, we had both Einstein come and give a lecture to our students, and the blackboard that he did all of his workings out on is still in the library here in Nottingham. So students can go and have a look at that. It's things that maths and physics students in particular enjoy. And a year later, we had Gandhi come and give a talk to our students, and his nephew was actually studying with us. We became the University of Nottingham in 1948, and we've had some quite strong prizes awarded to our staff. So we have a Nobel Prize that was awarded to one of our professors called Sir Peter Mansfield. And if anyone is interested, sorry, let me just go back a slide. Anyone who's interested in things like psychology or neuroscience, Sir Peter Mansfield actually created the MRI scanner. So it's a full body scanner, and he tested that on himself. He was his own kind of guinea pig, and he later won a Nobel Prize for that technology. So we actually have a big MRI imaging suite here at the university that's named after him, and our psychology, neuroscience, sometimes the medical students will use those facilities. So you have access to all of the kind of high quality research that goes on. And more recently, so our overseas campus opened in the early 2000s, and now we're actually over 300,000 graduates from the university, so a really big global community, as I mentioned. So in terms of what you can actually study with us here at Nottingham, one of the benefits is the number of programmes that are available. So between the undergraduate and postgraduate studies, we offer over 500 different degree programmes. And they span almost every subject area. So you can see here on screen everything from business, computer science, economics, law, engineering, psychology, politics, biosciences, physiotherapy, veterinary medicine, a huge range of subjects. There's really only a few things that we don't offer, and that's subjects within theatre, fashion, and dentistry being kind of the most common ones, but almost everything else is available at Nottingham. And the types of degrees that we offer, you can choose between Bachelor of Science, we have Bachelor of Arts, engineering specific programs. All of your bachelor degrees are available with a year in industry or a study abroad year, so you can do a placement year, and I'll talk a little bit about that in the next couple of slides. For postgraduate studies, you can do Master of Arts, Master of Science, we have Master of Engineering courses, and then we have our PhD research programs. So a huge range of options available to you, and typically all of those will be available with some sort of work experience or study abroad program. So a lot of the time you can combine subjects. We do offer a few joint honours programs. So it really depends on kind of what you're interested in studying, but do feel free to kind of type in the Q&A as we go through if you do have any specific questions about what courses are available. In terms of what you actually need to study at the university in terms of grades and kind of requirements, for undergraduate courses, it will depend on what you're studying. We often accept the Turkish high school diploma for direct entry into first year, depending on the school that you're studying at, and either myself or BEB will be able to advise if your school would be accepted. If not, we have a foundation year, which is designed to allow you to then progress through onto your course. And we also accept things like the IB diploma, SAT or AP subject tests. So it just depends on the qualifications you take, but typically for the Turkish diploma, it would be between 73 to 78% in your final year if you study at one of our accepted schools. For postgraduate courses, it would typically be your bachelor degree with a GPA of around 3. And there is flexibility for that depending on the university that you study at. So again, any questions about entry requirements specifically, do feel free to get in touch with any of us here, and we'll be happy to advise. In terms of the fees to study at Nottingham, it would typically cost between £19,000 per year to £25,000 per year. Some courses may be slightly higher than that, particularly within our postgraduate courses area, but around those sorts of prices would be the most common. And we do offer scholarships for students from Turkey. So we have both undergraduate and postgraduate scholarships. Both of them will have various kind of prices available. There will typically be a slightly higher scholarship, so usually around £7,000 for your first year. And then we'll have a number of smaller scholarships, so between £2,000 and £4,000 towards your first year tuition fee. But that's something that anyone who has an offer to study with us can apply for. Scholarships haven't yet open, so they typically open in January and would be open for a number of months to enable students to apply for them throughout the spring. And we also offer sports scholarships for any high performing athletes. So if you are competing in a sport at kind of national, regional level, then you may be eligible for a sports scholarship. So again, if any of you are interested in that option, do get in touch with me and I can sort of talk you through what would be available there. So in terms of kind of work experience, one of the benefits in the UK of doing your degree here is that we offer really strong work experience and work placement opportunities. So at Nottingham, there's a few different things that you can actually do as a student. So we have our year in industry option, and that's where you actually take a year out from your course to work with either a local employer or a global employer. Students will often go to really well-known companies as well as kind of smaller enterprises, and you would work in a full-time role for the year, and that's mostly for bachelor's students. That would be most common. I'll talk a little bit as well about examples of some of the companies we work with the next slide. But for both undergraduate and postgraduate students, we have a placements team. So we have placement programs where you can actually do short-term projects with local companies, and they're anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks. and you would be paid for those, and you're working on a tangible project that has real-time outcomes, so that when you finish that project, you can show exactly what you've done with that work experience. We have something called an ingenuity lab. So for students that are thinking about starting their own business, or thinking kind of entrepreneurially, we have support with starting those. So if you are wanting to set up your own business, or maybe you're thinking about taking over a family business in the future, you can get free support with things like contracts, marketing, investment proposals, and we run competitions every year for students to actually win money to set up their business. So enterprise is something that's really encouraged at Nottingham. And for students that take things like business, you actually get to do modules in enterprise. So you get a lot of focus on that. If you're looking for things like part-time jobs to kind of just support yourself financially, we have something called Unitemps, and that's a kind of jobs board that advertises vacancies both at the university but also within the city centre and local area. And they advertise over 5,000 different vacancies each year. So we have lots of students that will be doing part-time work, and on a student visa, you can work up to 20 hours a week. So that's something that a lot of people will do alongside their studies. So just to give you an example of some of the types of company we work with. So within engineering, a lot of our students will do a year in industry. So they'll take, in their bachelor degree, for example, their third year would be spent working with a company, but also master's students have the opportunity to do work with these companies. So some of our, well, I say some, probably the majority of our staff within engineering have really close links to industry, either through research partnerships or through being employed there previously. And these are some of the companies that we work with within engineering. So you'll recognize a lot of them as kind of global companies. For example, Rolls-Royce, their headquarters are just 20 minutes away from campus. And a lot of our engineering professors actually still work with Rolls-Royce in research roles, or kind of working on industrial kind of equipment or machinery. So students will have access to employers like this, and this is common across all of our programs. So whether you're studying a humanities course, a science course, or engineering, you'll have access to work with kind of key employers, if that's something that you're wanting to do as part of your degree. So just talk briefly through the campuses. We actually have 3 campuses here in Nottingham, and the biggest is University Park campus, and it's where a lot of our departments are based. So engineering, a lot of our sciences, economics, law, and other humanities type programs. And this is kind of the overview of it. So everything you see here is campus itself. You have your sports fields at the bottom. A lot of accommodation is based here. And it looks quite rural, like you're based in the countryside, but it's actually only 10 to 15 minutes from the city centre. So we have buses and trams that go directly from here into the city. And students often say that when they come and look around Nottingham, the campus is kind of what convinces them that this is where they want to study. It's a really, really beautiful place to live. Lots of green space to kind of walk around. You can rent boats and go rowing on the lake. It's just a really, really beautiful place to kind of live and study. The second campus we have is called Jubilee, and this is where our business school, computer science and education students are based. So if anyone comes to do a pre-sessional English program, for example, you would be based on Jubilee campus. And it's much more modern looking. Again, it focuses kind of around a lake. It has accommodation, sports centres, places to eat and drink, which each campus has. So they're all designed to kind of have everything that you might need. And again, this is only 10 minutes to the city centre. This campus is only a 2 to 3 minute bus ride from University Park, or you can walk it in about 12 minutes. So you can actually choose which campus you want to live on. You don't have to live on the one that you study on. It's just kind of whichever one you prefer. And then the final campus we have is Sutton Bonington. And this is a little bit further away. It's about 15 kilometres from University Park. And it's where our bioscience students are based, and veterinary medicine. And it's on a purpose-built campus, so the facilities are incredible. It has labs, 3D imaging, brewing facilities, as well as lots of different kind of animal areas. So we have kennels, cattery, stables, and it's based on a working dairy farm. So you'll see here that it is much more based in the countryside. It would probably take around half an hour to get into the city centre, but we have free buses that take you between here and University Park. And again, students who study here would actually be based on this campus for living, because it's just that little bit easier. But all the facilities that you need are there. So your sports, places to eat and drink, places to hang out with your friends, and not too far to get back into the city centre. But it's a really great sort of campus if you're studying any of the subjects that are based there. So accommodation would be guaranteed for international students. So whether you're studying for 1 year or 3, you're guaranteed accommodation for your full course. And a whole range of different options available, just depending on kind of what you're interested in, and whether you want your own bathroom or you're happy to share, whether you want your meals provided or you're confident in the kitchen and want to do all of your own cooking. Lots of different choices depending on kind of what you're wanting. And typical prices would be around £6,000 per year for your accommodation. I'll just finish up by telling you a little bit about kind of student life here at Nottingham and some of the things that are on offer. So when you actually come to Nottingham, there's a lot of support in place both before you arrive and after. So we have international student ambassadors who actually will connect with you before you arrive in Nottingham, and often before you've even chosen Nottingham as your choice. So you can have a chat with them if you have an offer and you're thinking about whether you want to accept that offer. But you'll also be assigned something called a personal tutor when you arrive at Nottingham. And that's someone within your department who is there for kind of checking in with you academically, but also just to make sure that everything's going okay. If you've got any issues, it's someone you can have a chat with. And they're there just to kind of keep in touch. But we have a whole host of different support available, whether it's welfare, English language, healthcare. So we have one of the largest healthcare facilities in the UK on campus. We have a visa and immigration team who can support with things like whether you're wanting to stay in the UK after you graduate and you don't know how that works in terms of your visa, applying for jobs. So pretty much any sort of support that you need is available. And we also have something called a global buddies system where you can be matched with a current student, and they act as kind of a mentor both before you arrive and then once you arrive here in Nottingham, it's someone to kind of help you settle in and show you around. But there's lots of different things you can get involved in. We have over 300 different student societies, and that's everything from societies that relate to your course. So one of the examples on the screen here is the Bar Society, and that's related to our law courses, through to cultural and international societies. So we do have a Turkish student society. If you want to meet other Turkish students, you can. But yeah, over 300 different societies. And they kind of include everything and anything. So we even have things like dog walking society, cake baking, as well as sports. So over 70 different sports clubs, both competitive and for fun, as well as things like volunteering. So there's a whole host of things that you can get involved in outside of your studies. And that's really one of the best things about studying in the UK is kind of the amount of extracurricular activity you can do. And just to finish up with telling you a little bit about the kind of sports that are available at Nottingham. So I mentioned that we're Sports University of the Year, and that was awarded to us not just for our kind of performance in the sports leagues here in the UK. So we're second overall. We were first this year before the sports leagues got interrupted by COVID. But yeah, very, very high performing athletes. But also for things like encouraging students to get into sports. So if you've never tried something before, there's loads of different schemes to sort of encourage you to try something new. And our sports village is about 3.5 years old now, but it's an incredible facility. It has everything and anything you could think of to do with sports. So your typical kind of fitness suites, the gym, swimming pool. We have a martial arts dojo centre, so we're the only university in the UK to have that. We have an all-glass squash court, high performance zone. So we have a lot of Olympic athletes in the area who come and train here. But we also have a climbing wall and a bouldering wall. So you can go and do things like that in there. And for students who don't actually want to take part in any sports, it just has a nice cafe. So if you want to go and do some work in a slightly different area, it's quite fun to go and sort of watch people climbing and doing different things in there. So yeah, lots of different activities that you can be part of at Nottingham. The only restriction I always say to students is how much time you'll have to fit everything in. So thank you very much for listening to that very quick overview of Nottingham. If you do have any questions, please type them into the Q&A. And we'll go through them now. And I've just left a link here. If you do want to register your details directly with Nottingham, you can fill in the form that's available via that link and I'll be in touch directly. But otherwise, thank you very much for attending this evening. And yeah, happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So thank you very much for your presentation, Isabella. And
No
I will help you regarding the questions. There are already several questions. So the first one is, will the students be able to go to the other campuses such as Malaysia and China for a semester or a year? Because there are some universities that are able to arrange these.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's something that the majority of our courses will offer. So our campuses in China and Malaysia don't teach all of the same courses that we have, but they do have the majority of kind of our main ones, so within business and engineering particularly. But for most students, yes, spending a semester abroad would be possible. So whether it's at our Malaysia or China campus, or whether it's with one of our partner universities. So we actually work with universities all around the world, and lots of our courses will allow you to spend either a semester or a full year studying abroad at one of those. So we have partner universities in Europe, Australia, America, Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan, kind of all over the world. So it just depends on the program that you're studying and the partners that we have for that course. But yeah, study abroad is something that is available for all of our students.
Thank you. How many bachelor's degree programs for engineering at the University of Nottingham?
Ooh, good question. So we actually have 6 different types of engineering. So we offer, this will test whether I can remember everything. So we have architecture, aerospace engineering, we have civil engineering, chemical and environmental engineering, mechanical, materials and manufacturing engineering, and then we also offer a foundation in engineering. And within each of those courses, there will be slight kind of variations on the combination of course. So you might do just a 3-year mechanical engineering course, or you might do a 4-year integrated master's. For postgraduate students, we have all of those departments as well. So it really just depends on the type of engineering you want to focus on. But even things like robotics, which is something I get asked about a lot, robotics and mechatronics would also be covered. Electrical engineering is my final one, that's the one I forgot. So electrical and electronic engineering is available as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Can you tell us more about the mechanical engineering facilities available on campus, such as rapid prototyping workshops? In which campus is the mechanical engineering based?
Yeah, so for mechanical engineering, you're based on University Park campus. So that's where all of our engineering department is based. And the facilities are designed to imitate industry. So you'll kind of have a very broad first year. And then by the time you get into things like 3rd year, you can actually specialize in a particular area. So whether you want to do aerospace, locomotive, automotive, and the workshops and facilities we have are designed to imitate those industries. So if I use the example of aerospace, which often falls within mechanical, we have wind tunnels, flight simulators, basically they're designed to imitate industry. So even if you don't do an industrial placement, you have access to the sorts of facilities that you would be using in an actual job. And one of the areas that we really focus on within kind of mechanical and materials is within 3D printing and advanced manufacturing. So those are kind of key areas for us at the university.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. The following question is, do you have finance PhD program?
Yes, yeah, so we have quite a broad business PhD program, and within that you can kind of choose what specialism you want to focus on. And the way it would work is that you would find a supervisor in the department who researches kind of the topics that you're working on or that you're interested in, and you would reach out to them to see if they would be interested in supervising your kind of idea. But yeah, finance is one of our big research areas within business.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Is B2 upper intermediate or C1 level sufficient for us to enter the school for medicine?
Okay, so for medicine, the IELTS requirement would be 7.5 overall, with 7 in each of the individual areas. So that would be the medicine requirement.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Is there any department for IT students?
Yeah, so we have computer science and computer engineering. So it just depends on which kind of route you want to go down, whether it's hardware or software. But yeah, quite a big computer science program. So it covers everything from data science through to kind of human factors. So yeah, quite a broad course there for both bachelor and master's students.
Okay, thank you. And about our architecture program, is there any architecture program at the University of Nottingham?
Yeah, so again, we have both undergraduate architecture and postgraduate architecture, and we focus on quite a lot of different areas within that. So you can do pure architecture, or you could do things like architecture and environmental design. You could do sustainable buildings, urban design, so quite broad, but we offer both pure architecture training and architecture related fields for both undergraduate and postgraduate study.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Is it possible to study an elective that is completely irrelevant to to the course, such as studying a certain language and business management at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually offer for that particular combination, business management and languages, we actually offer a joint honours course. You would be able to do that together. But yeah, most of the time, students can often take an elective module from outside of your course. And we also run something called the Nottingham Advantage Award. So even if it's not something that's offered directly through your course, we offer extracurricular modules that you can take in a whole host of different areas that are designed for that purpose. So kind of taking something that's an additional, and you'll get credit for that, and that'll be recognised when you graduate. So whether you're wanting to do a language, or you're wanting to do an economics module, or something completely unrelated, a lot of the time you can take that through the Advantage Award.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Can senior high school students apply now?
Absolutely, yeah. So applications are open. Sevda and the team will be able to sort of talk to you directly about that if you want to submit an application. But yeah, you've got basically applications will sort of not close, but to be guaranteed consideration would be the 15th of January. But most of the time we do accept applications beyond that date for most of our courses. But yeah, absolutely, you can submit an application now if you want to.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. What's the difference between international management postgraduate course and business and management MSc? There are so many options. Please let us know.
Yeah, so this is something that I think can be a little bit complex. And what I can do is put you in touch with my colleague Dane, who kind of manages our business programs. But typically the international management program often has a semester abroad. So it has a much more kind of global focus. It's thinking about business in more of an international aspect. So you would typically do a placement as part of it, usually at one of our overseas campuses. But yeah, if you want to, I can get in touch with you with some more details. I'll be able to send you kind of the different syllabuses so you can see what the exact differences are.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Do we have a pre-sessional course? And if it was, will it be online or face-to-face? As far as I know, lectures are online now.
Yeah, so we have lots of pre-sessionals, whether you need 40 weeks or just 5 weeks. We have all of them at Nottingham, and they have both options now. So they were previously online, but for students starting from January, there will be the option of either face-to-face or online, depending on what you prefer. And for the majority of our courses, we've had blended teaching throughout the year. So students have had lectures in person as well as online. So there's been both options running throughout since September, and that's something that will continue from January. But yeah, lots of pre-sessional courses just depending on your current IELTS level and what you need to get to for your course.
Thank you. Is there any department for communication engineering for postgraduate?
Communication engineering, not specifically within that title, but you'll probably find that a lot of our engineering courses would cover areas within that. So what I would recommend is having a look on our website at the engineering courses specifically, and having a look through and seeing which one would kind of cover that area. I would probably recommend having a look at electrical or electronic engineering. That would probably have something that was most closely related to communication engineering.
Thank you. Is one must work on a specific topic for their MSc dissertation? What should they do first? Apply for the relevant program or contact the professors?
Okay, so what I would say in that instance, this is something that we come across quite often, particularly for students from Turkey coming for master's programs. You wouldn't need to reach out to the professor yourself, typically. What I would recommend, if you do have a specific topic that you need to work on, is contacting myself or asking BEB to contact me and check. And what we will do is speak to the department to see whether it's possible for you to do your dissertation on that topic. It's something that we come across quite a lot, so we're able to sort of speak to the professors and see if there's someone that would supervise that. But you wouldn't typically reach out to them directly for master's programs because it's not a requirement of the course. But yeah, if you need to make sure you can do it on that topic, I'd recommend getting in touch with myself or one of the BEB team first, and we'll sort of advise on whether it's possible for you.
Thank you. Is there any postgraduate course for electronic and communication engineering?
Yeah, so like I say, definitely within electronic engineering, and if you have a look through those courses, you'll probably find that they relate quite closely to communications engineering as well.
And the same question about early childhood education or child development for a PhD.
Yeah, so this would be one of our research areas. So as I mentioned earlier, the PhD process is slightly different in that you would find a researcher or a supervisor that works in that kind of area, and you would contact them directly. So what I can do is share kind of details of how to find our supervisors. So we list them all on our website, and you would essentially just have a look through them and see kind of what they're working on, whether it relates to something that you're interested in, and you send them an email just to say, this is what I'm thinking of doing. You might already have a research proposal kind of planned, or you might just have an idea, but you can reach out to them directly and see whether they're wanting to work on that. But yeah, both education and psychology would cover kind of early childhood education or child development, and they're both areas that we cover here at Nottingham.
Thank you. Is IELTS certificate required, or can we apply with a certificate from a language school in London?
So we would require IELTS or TOEFL, Pearson, Cambridge English. So one of those. We typically wouldn't accept a language school in London. Would kind of be our usual stance on that. So IELTS or one of the equivalents.
Do you know where LLM students work after they graduate?
It really depends, actually. So it will depend on whether you want to go into kind of practicing law straight away, or you're looking to work more within research. We have a lot of students that will work throughout their course on some of the projects that are going on within the university. So working on things like ending human slavery is a big research area. But yeah, it really depends on kind of your career goals and whether you want to work for an actual law firm, or you want to work for an NGO, or you want to go into something completely unrelated. We do have information about the typical sorts of careers that students will do. So our careers team, we have about 80 members of staff that work in that team. And they will work with students specifically from different courses to help you figure out what you might want to do, to put you in touch with other people that have done your course and then gone on to work in a particular field. So it's something that you'd be able to have a look at. And again, I can send details through to you about this.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Could you please explain more about scholarship opportunities for engineering faculty?
Yeah, sure. So the scholarships that we offer are typically open to all courses. So sometimes different faculties might have their own scholarships. So sometimes engineering does. But typically our scholarships are what we call central scholarships. So they're open to any student that has an offer to study with us on any course. And the way it would work is that you would submit an application, and usually there's an application form that will ask about why you're applying for the scholarship, why it will be beneficial for you, and why it should kind of be awarded to you. And they'll use that in combination with your grades to sort of see who's eligible. But typically they're central scholarships, so open for all courses. If there are ones that are related specifically to your program, so say for example you have an offer to study engineering and the engineering faculty has some scholarships available for their students, they will email you directly and let you know what you could apply for. But at the moment it's just central scholarships.
Mm-hmm. So thank you very much for your information. I'm just checking whether is there any more questions. So I think we already covered all the questions.
What I'm going to do is just put my I'm going to put my email address into the chat box. If anyone does have any questions that you want to know, please do contact me directly or get in touch with Sevda or Imran or one of the team at BEB, and they will be able to advise and support.
Thank you very much again, Isabella, for your great presentation.
No problem. Thank you everyone for your time and for your questions as well. It's really nice to speak with you all.
Sevda, yeah, you are mute now.
Thank you. Yeah, I just noticed that. Thank you, Imran. Well, Isabella, it was lovely having you as always. Thank you very much for your time and the presentation. Well, we hope to see you in springtime in Turkey.
I hope so.
Thank you. Have a very good Christmas break.
Thank you. Have a lovely evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Çok teşekkürler değerli vaktiniz için. Sizlerle bir arada olmak çok güzeldi. İyi akşamlar. Bir sonraki webinarımızda yeniden görüşmek, bir araya gelmek dileğiyle diyelim. İyi akşamlar diliyorum. İyi hafta sonları. Hoşça kalın. Bye bye.